The story starts in 1933 during the time of the Great Depression in New York City, where a struggling vaudeville actress performs for a small audience. After the show, she speaks with Manny, her friend and fellow performer, in the dressing room. She tells him that their difficult situation will eventually get better, and together they go to a soup kitchen to eat dinner. The next day, Ann goes to the theater, but discovers it has been closed. Manny informs her that he is leaving for Chicago and apologizes for not being able to help her. And later meets Mr. Western and asks him for a chance to appear in a film he is directing, but he explains that the role has already been given to someone else. However, Weston gives her a card and suggests she meet another man who might offer her a small role that could at least earn her some money. At the same time, a film director named Carl Denham speaks with his investors and asks them to finance a trip to an unexplored island for his next movie. They ask him to step outside while they discuss the idea, and he overhears them deciding to cancel the project. Denham and his assistant Preston quickly leave the building and jump into a taxi while the investors try to find him. Preston tells him that the main actress for the film has dropped out, and Denham tells Preston to contact Jack Driscoll while he continues searching for a new lead actress. As he walks through the streets, he notices Ann approaches her. Denham invites Ann to a restaurant and explains that he is a movie producer. He tries to convince her to join his film, but she initially refuses. When he tells her that Jack Driscoll is writing the script, she becomes interested. Later, Ann and Denham arrive at the seaport and board Captain Engelhorn's ship, the Venture. Preston warns Denham that the police are coming to arrest him, and he urges the captain to prepare the ship to leave immediately. Once on board, Denham meets Jack. Jack shows him part of the script he has written, but Denham is not impressed. As Jack steps out of the room, he realizes the ship has already departed, meaning he must continue the journey with the crew. The next day, Jack uses an animal cage as his room while continuing to write the script, and meets Denham again, and he introduces her to the crew. At first, she mistakes Mike, Denham's sound man, for Jack, but soon the real Jack introduces himself. Jack later talks with Denham while working on the script and asks about the island where they plan to film. Denham claims that the island is completely undiscovered, and Jimmy overhears their conversation. Later, Denham begins filming scenes while Jack watches and slowly develops feelings for Ann. That night, Denham speaks with Captain Engelhorn and convinces him to steer the ship southwest. The captain argues that there is nothing in that direction, but Denham promises to pay him well. Hayes, Lumpy, and Jimmy question Denham about the change in direction, and he tells them he is searching for Skull Island. Lumpy mentions an old story about a huge monster living behind a giant wall on the island, and Hayes warns that no one would survive there. Days pass as the Venture continues sailing across the ocean. Jack spends time with Ann and tells her he is writing a play especially for her, and during their conversation he eventually kisses her. Meanwhile, Engelhorn receives a message saying the police are searching for Denham. Denham tries to convince him to keep sailing, but Engelhorn refuses. Jack later talks with Denham, and they study a map where they notice a strange island shaped like a scar. Suddenly, the ship enters a thick fog, and the compass stops working. Large rocks appear through the fog as Engelhorn struggles to steer around them. Eventually, the ship becomes stuck against a huge rock, and the crew sees the enormous wall mentioned in Hayes' story. While Engelhorn and Hayes attempt to repair the ship, Jimmy tells them that Denham and several others have already taken a boat to the island. Denham, Jack, and some crew members reach the island and arrive at a mysterious gate. They see a strange girl, and Denham tries to offer her chocolate, but she runs away and reveals that many people live there. Suddenly, a man throws a spear that kills Mike, and the islanders attack the group, killing several crew members. Just as the locals prepare to kill Denham, Engelhorn and his men arrive and rescue them. They all return to the ship and finally manage to free it from the rock. Later, the islanders secretly board the ship and kidnap Ann. Jack finds a piece of their jewelry and realizes the locals have taken her. He quickly informs Engelhorn, and the crew discovers that Ann has been brought back to the island as a sacrifice for a creature that lives beyond the giant wall. Jack and several men arm themselves and return to the island to rescue her, but they arrive too late because Kong, a gigantic ape, has already taken Ann deep into the jungle. Jack, Denham, Hayes, and the others begin searching for her. Kong runs through the forest carrying Ann while she screams. The rescuers reach a field filled with bones and realize Kong passed through there. They follow his trail into the jungle where Jack notices a huge footprint. Meanwhile, Denham begins filming dinosaurs he encounters with Bruce. A herd of Brontosaurus suddenly panics when a group of Utahraptors appears, causing a massive stampede. Denim and Bruce run to warn the others, and everyone starts running for safety. Several members of the group are killed in the chaos, while Jimmy barely survives after nearly falling off a cliff. Bruce fires his weapon at the Utahraptors and accidentally causes some dinosaurs to fall as they run. Jack and the others escape up a hill, but Herb is caught and eaten by the Utahraptors. At the same time, Kong sets and down on the ground and pretends to be dead. Jack and the others eventually reach a swamp where Bruce decides to return to the ship with some of the men. Jack and the remaining group use pieces of wood to build small boats to cross the water. Meanwhile, Anne tries to escape, but Kong catches her again. She realizes that he enjoys watching her dance and juggle, which makes him laugh. Kong playfully pushes her to the ground and then begins throwing a tantrum when she refuses to continue. After Kong walks away and disappears into the forest, the group moves through the woods until they reach a huge fallen tree that acts as a bridge. Hayes crosses it and enters a cave, warning Jimmy to run if anything goes wrong. Suddenly, Kong comes out of the cave. Hayes shoots at him, but Kong grabs him and throws him against a rock, killing him. Kong then attacks Jack and the others and throws several of them into a ravine. Meanwhile, Anne runs through the jungle and spots a lizard-like creature feeding on a carcass. It chases her while she hides in a tree, but the creature is killed by an even larger monster. As she remains in the tree, insects begin crawling toward her. Soon she encounters a Tyrannosaurus Rex that pursues her through the forest. She manages to escape briefly, but is attacked by another T-Rex. Kong appears and saves her, and then a third dinosaur joins the fight. During the battle, Kong crushes the head of the first dinosaur. Anne and Kong fall off a cliff, but become tangled in vines. Anne manages to escape the vines and runs while another T-Rex chases her. Kong jumps beside her to defend her. When the dinosaur attacks, Kong grabs its jaws and snaps them apart, killing it. Afterward, he lifts Anne onto his back and carries her through the jungle. Back in the ravine, Jack regains consciousness and sees that several men have died. Denham's camera has been destroyed by the fall, and Jimmy mourns Hayes while crying. Strange creatures then appear after a flare goes out and begin attacking the men. During the struggle, Lumpy and several others are killed. Engelhorn, Bruce, and more sailors arrive and help defeat the creatures, rescuing Jack and the remaining survivors. Jimmy picks up Hayes' hat and climbs the rope to safety. Meanwhile, Kong brings Anne to his lair. She realizes that Kong seems lonely and sad, so she tries to cheer him up as they watch the sunset together. Later, Jack reaches the other side of the ravine and declares he will rescue Anne. Denham believes Jack will save her and that Kong will chase them, so he suggests to Engelhorn that they capture Kong using chloroform from the ship. Jack travels through the jungle and eventually falls asleep near a cliff. Later, he enters Kong's home and notices giant bats hanging from the ceiling. He quietly approaches and while Kong sleeps, but Kong wakes up and becomes furious and tells Jack to run. The bats swarm out and attack Kong while Jack tries to escape. Kong temporarily places Anne in a cave while fighting the bats. Jack reaches her, and she climbs onto his back as he climbs down a vine, but Kong catches up to them. Jack grabs one of the giant bats, which flies away with him, but eventually drops him into a river. Kong roars loudly, and the men near the giant wall hear the sound. Jack and Anne run toward the bridge and call for help. Denham delays opening the gate, while Preston rushes to cut the rope holding it. The rope slices Preston's face as the gate falls. Jack and Anne run through just before Kong bursts out, and then realizes Denham plans to capture Kong. The men trap Kong with ropes and try to knock him out using chloroform. However, Kong becomes enraged when he sees Jack taking Anne away. He breaks free and chases them toward the ship. As they escape in boats, Kong destroys one of them. Engelhorn fires a harpoon that slows Kong down. Denham emerges from the water with chloroform and smashes the bottle against Kong's face, finally subduing him. Denham proudly declares that they will become millionaires.